Dear student Palash and Kajal, I welcome you in this lecture. Today is 11th February 2025 and time is about 5:35 p.m. and we continue with the same topic, factors affecting plant growth. You already know objectives of this lecture and we discussed some glossary, some difficult words already covered in detail, and we could discuss the meaning of growth. And then we have seen the difference in growth and development. And you have seen the stages of growth or how growth occurs. It occurs mainly due to cell division, cell enlargement, and cell differentiation. And you also know how development occurs. Development occurs mainly due to differentiation of tissues, differentiation, and then morphogenesis is also important in case of growth, where the morphology changes, the forms changes, and besides this, there may be some death. Finally, there will be the death stage. So that is your development I discussed in detail. And we could know what is difference in determinate and indeterminate growth habit. And we have seen the growth curve, sigmoid growth curve, we discussed in detail. And then we have known, we could know what are different measures or units where growth can be measured. And then we have seen different measurement units like fresh weight, dry weight, length. And we have discussed the meaning of growth and how it is important for getting maximum returns. And we started discussing the factors. There are a large number of factors suggested by different people. You see, soil-related, climate-related, plant-related, a number of factors. But they can be simply classified into, or they can be grouped like this. If you remember, external factor, internal factor. External factor are three: environmental, management, socioeconomic. And environmental means outside factors are two: abiotic and biotic. You know what is bonds: water, atmosphere, nutrients, temperature, and soil plus light. They are abiotic factors, and biotic factors are weeds, disease, pest, etc. Now, we already covered external factor, also the internal factor or genetic factors in detail yesterday. And now we continue with the same topic. Now you can visualize here in the slide that environmental factors are there. I've shown them. You can see on the top, there are three factors which are external factors: environmental factor, management factor, and socioeconomic factors. So many of the factors are interrelated. Many factors work together. For example, soil, air, and moisture. Soil, air, and moisture, there has to be balance of soil, air, and water. If you remember in your BSc AG days, there the teacher will teach you composition of soil, typical composition of soil, where they will teach you that about 45% is your mineral matter, 5% is organic matter, and 50% is your space. And in that 50%, roughly 25% is water and 25% is air. So you see, air and water, they are interacting. They are interacting. If suppose there is shortage of water in the soil, water evaporate or water is lost from the soil, then aeration will increase, the air will increase. If water enters the soil, the air will come out. And both, the use of both or the content of both will also be affected by temperature. Temperature can affect the water content in soil. Generally lower the temperature, you can have more water. If under same condition, you increase the temperature. If you increase the temperature, then water content will decrease in soil and air content will increase in soil. So that way, you see, water, air, and your temperature, they are interacting. So a lot of interaction happens among these factors. Take the case of water and microbial activity of microbes in the soil. So microbial activity is also affected by water, moisture content, oxygen, or your temperature. Number of factors will affect the microbial activity. Also the pH of the soil, texture, structure. So these factors that affect the growth, they work in interaction. They work in unison. So similarly, oxygen and carbon dioxide in soil. If oxygen is used, then carbon dioxide concentration will increase in the soil. Similarly, diffusion rate of oxygen in plant roots and soil temperature. So it affects, temperature can affect the diffusion rate, means entry of oxygen into the water, into the soil, will be affected by soil temperature. Similarly, many of the soil properties can affect each other. For example, soil texture. Soil texture can affect your water holding capacity. Structure can also affect water holding capacity. So many of these factors are interactive in nature. So of course, we will study individual factors effect, but this is what I wanted to tell you. Now we start with the external factors. Among the external factors, you have environmental factors. In environmental factors, you have warmth plus light. So now we want to discuss temperature. So, temperature is very, very important for survival of any individual, any organism, whether it is microbe, whether it is human being, whether it is plants, whatsoever you have. The living lives, the living entities, they need some ideal temperature. So what is temperature? If I ask you the meaning of temperature, you can define in 4 words. It is a measure of the intensity of heat. Please remember, if I ask what is temperature, it is measure of the intensity of heat. How hot or how cold a substance is, that is measured by temperature. So measure of intensity of heat is called as temperature. Limits of survival are normally -35 to +75 degrees centigrade temperature. Many organisms, particularly lower organisms, can survive in this higher range, -35 to +75 degrees centigrade. Even you can find life on the Antarctica, where you have very cold temperatures. So, and there are very hot places in the world, and that can be up to 75 degrees centigrade. But the practical limits for survival of the plants is 15 to 40 degrees centigrade. Please note down, this is sometimes asked in quiz exams. So practical limits for survival of the plants on the earth is 15 to 40 degrees centigrade. This is normal range for most of the plants on the earth. So now, definitely very high temperature or very low temperature are undesirable. Very high or very low temperature are undesirable. Under both extremes or under both stresses, we can call them stresses, the growth of the plant will be affected. So therefore, some optimum temperature is required for the growth. So you can see optimum temperature will vary with the species and variety differences. You see, you classify microorganism into different classes, like some that can be grown under very low temperature. Perhaps they are called as psychrophilic, mesophilic, thermophilic, something like that. Thermophilic organism need more temperature. Mesophilic need moderate temperature. Psychrophilic need lower temperature. So by default, for certain plants, the lower level of temperature may be optimum. For other plants, the higher level of temperature may be optimum. Generally, the plants which like tropical climate, plants that like or that grow or that are suitable for tropical climate, the optimum temperature will be higher for those plants compared to the plants which like temperate climate. So for temperate climate plants, optimum temperature may be lower. For tropical climate plants, optimum temperature may be higher. So therefore, species differences exist, and also some varietal differences may also exist. Within one particular crop, you can find varieties that can tolerate temperature extremes or temperature stresses better than the other varieties. Take case of potato. Potato, of course, it likes lower temperature, but there are varieties which have been bred to survive under much lower temperature. One such variety may be Kufri Sheetman. Sheetman means the name suggests that it can do better at lower temperature. So varietal differences also exist. Some varieties may require little higher temperature than other varieties. Age of the plant. Duration of exposure. How long you can expose that particular temperature. This will also vary with the species and varieties. Age of the plant. You see, during germination, the temperature requirements are different than at seedling stage, for tilling stage, for vegetative growth, for flowering stage, for grain filling, etc., etc. In books, you will find optimum temperature will vary with the stage of the crop. Normally, during vegetative stage or active vegetative stage, the temperature requirements are higher compared to the grain filling stage. So temperature, optimum temperature varies with the age of the plant. Okay, and third one is stage of development. Stage of development or age of the plant are quite similar. At what stage is it flowering, is it grain filling, and so on. So you have seen that optimum temperature varies according to the plant species and variety, and also the stage of growth. This is important. Now question comes, why temperature is important? Why plants need optimum temperature? What do you think, Palash? Why temperature is necessary? Optimum temperature is necessary.
For metabolic activity of the plant.
Okay. Good. Metabolic activity of the plant. We need temperature. It includes your photosynthesis. It includes respiration, protein synthesis, etc. Yes. Anything else?
Sir, for photoperiodism.
For photoperiodism is basically related to light, but it is thermoperiodism. It is called as here as thermoperiodism. Effect of temperature on flowering of plants is your thermoperiodism. So that is different, but you actually wanted to say growing degree days. Growing degree days, that is heat unit concept. So plants cannot mature unless minimum heat units are accumulated by the plant, which is also called as growing degree days, GDD. So as told by you, that plant, the temperature have many roles, direct roles, and some roles of temperature are indirect. Direct role of temperature is in photosynthesis. You need optimum temperature for photosynthesis, which varies with the plant and also the age of the plant. And it has got some indirect roles also. For example, microbial activity in soil. Microbial activity in soil will supply the nutrients. So you can see temperature can indirectly affect the availability of the nutrients. Secondly, water uptake. Water uptake and transport in the plant system. So, you know, if you have too low temperature, very low temperature, then water uptake can be adversely affected because cell membrane permeability will be affected at low temperature. So uptake of water and nutrients will be adversely affected if temperatures are not optimum. So therefore, you can check the different roles of water or role of temperature here. So now you are seeing the role of temperatures. First is water and nutrient uptake. Okay, so it is indirectly, it is necessary for water uptake as well as nutrient uptake. Transpiration, you also know temperature plays important role. And transpiration actually happens to moderate the temperature. To moderate the temperature of the plant. It is outcome of the temperature. Sometimes if temperature is high and plants want to make themselves cool, so then your transpiration helps plant to have some cooling effect. Then temperature is necessary for photosynthesis, protein synthesis, respiration, enzyme activity, and many biochemical and physiological functions are governed by or are influenced by temperature. So temperature, you see, it is necessary for several things in the plant. Cell wall permeability. If cell wall is not permeable, your nutrients and water uptake will be affected adversely. See, microbial activity can be affected. So this is indirect role of the temperature. Nutrient cycling will be affected. Means mineralization of organic matter will be affected. So nutrient availability will decrease. And then flowering and maturity. It also affects the flowering and maturity of the plants. Suddenly, if you have very high temperature at the time of flowering, then there will be grain filling will be adversely affected. First thing is that pollination can be affected. Suppose flowering happens and suddenly you have unfavorable temperature. Particularly, I am giving you the case of rice. In case of rice, at the time of flowering, for maximum pollen activities, pollen grains, health, 33 degrees centigrade temperature is the best for pollination in rice. You can remember, 33 degrees centigrade temperature is the best for pollination. So this link will work only for 5-10 minutes. And then you can rejoin another link. Okay. Sorry for the inconvenience. There was suddenly disconnection of electricity, and I did not have UPS with that computer. So I'll quickly go to. We were discussing the temperature. So, you know, temperature is very, very important, and we need optimum temperature at different growth stages. And for flowering and maturity also, you have different temperatures. Optimum temperature particularly is different. Temperature is also important for organic matter decomposition, or you can say microbial activity. Organic matter decomposition is very, very important for supply of nutrients. Through organic matter decomposition, minerals are released. Minerals are released and humus is also released. So organic matter decomposition results in production of humus and production of minerals. Two processes happen together, humification plus mineralization, and due to which you get humus and minerals. And then these decomposition process are mediated by microorganism, and these microbes need optimum temperature and optimum moisture for their activity, for their good activity. So therefore, temperature has indirect role in decomposition of organic matter. Pollen viability, I was referring the case of rice. I told you 33 degrees centigrade is the best. If you have too high or too less temperature, then pollen death can occur. Pollen can become sterile. The germination of pollen may not happen and fertilization affected. So finally, your grain setting, the grain development will not be there. Most of the rice spikelets will remain empty if fertilization is not done. They will remain sterile. So therefore, temperature is also necessary for flowering, for pollen viability. Similarly, seed set and seed development. Seed set means it is just kind of fertilization. Seed setting means kind of fertilization, and development of the seed is grain filling. So it is also a temperature controlled phenomenon. Similarly, rate of senescence. Senescence is maturity. Once your leaf has lost the greenness and it is ready to turn brown color, then it is senescence. So certain parts of the plant senesce, they mature. So it is also affected by temperature. Quality of the product. I think you understand quality. Quality has different meanings for different people. Normally here quality means the nutritional quality, content of nutrients, the smell, the aroma, the fragrance, the size, the color, all such parameters of our produce or product make up quality of the product. Taste is also important parameter for quality. So quality, particularly nutritional quality, is affected by temperature, maybe protein content, maybe your flavor, texture of food items, fruits, vegetable, etc. So quality, not just quantity, but quality is also affected. You need better quality. As I was telling, case of rice, in case of basmati rice, if we have high temperature at the time of grain filling or maturity, then the fragrance, the aroma will not be there in the rice. So therefore, for quality, you need optimum temperatures. Then seed germination. Temperature is necessary for seed germination. You studied in your high school that 3 conditions are necessary for germination of a seed: moisture or water, air or oxygen, and third one is temperature. You need right temperature for germination. Some seed like lettuce seed, they also require light for their germination. But most seed need ideal temperature, right moisture content or moisture in soil or moisture around, and your air or oxygen. In the absence of oxygen, many seeds or most seeds cannot germinate. So therefore, for seed germination, you need to have some minimum temperature, some maximum temperature, and it is better to have optimum temperature. Pest and disease occurrence, it is also influenced by temperature, particularly in association with the water, moisture or humidity. You know, if you higher the humidity, normally higher the temperature, higher the humidity. So if water source is available around, so in this case, higher humidity and higher temperature will invite infestation of more insect pests and disease, or attack of more insect pests if higher temperatures are combined with higher humidity. So is the case in storage. In storage also, you must be knowing that higher humidity and higher temperature in the storage deteriorates the grain quality. They damage the grain more. So pest and disease can also affect the quality of the product, not just quantity. Now you see influence of temperature on rate of leaf appearance. So it is just showing you the growth of maize in terms of number of leaves produced per day. How many leaves in maize are produced in one day? This is average value. So you can see on x-axis, it is the temperature for maize, 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. And on the y-axis, you have rate of leaf appearance. This is a growth parameter. Rate of leaf appearance is a growth parameter, and you can see it is increasing linearly. Up to 30 degrees centigrade, if you increase the temperature, the leaf production is increasing in maize. That means this higher temperature up to 30 degrees centigrade is good for maize because it is increasing the number of leaves per day or per week. Is it okay, Palash? Means it is
Yes, sir.
relation between temperature and growth of the maize plant. So you can see at 30 also it is increasing. Linear increase means at least up to 30 degrees centigrade, there was linear increase in leaf production. Now you can see now I close it. I will go to the link number 2 and then continue this. So now I started recording. Thank you again. And welcome to the class. Now you can check the optimum temperature range for different crops. Now you can see for barley, for oats, for wheat, you can see the temperatures are 20 to 25. Normally, if you see the average, what I mean to say that crops which grow in winter season or crops which are kind of temperate crops, there the temperature requirement, optimum temperature requirement is generally lower than the crops which are grown in tropical kind of climate. So you can see crop like cotton, it needs 28 to 30 degrees centigrade, rice 25 to 30 degrees centigrade, and you can see sugarcane 25 to 30. So these are tropical crops. Your banana, banana, papaya, and your cotton, your rice, sugarcane, palm millet, these are tropical crop. Wheat, barley, oats, they are temperate crop. So you can just see the difference in temperature. Now also there is variation in temperature requirement in C3 and C4 plant. So you can see for C3 plant, the temperature requirement is lower. On x-axis, you have temperature. On y-axis, you have photosynthesis. Here, photosynthesis is indicative of growth because it will give us growth. So you can see for C3 plant, this line is for C3 plant. So optimum temperature is somewhere here. This is the limit for C3 plant. But for C4 plants, you can see optimum temperature is higher for C4 plants. Now you see temperature affects the concentration of nutrients in different parts. So just don't get afraid of this picture. I will explain you. This is a very simple picture. The plant shoot and plant root. There are two parts of the plant. One is shoot, other is root. So this is the case of potato crop. In potato top means leaves, the shoot part, and the potato roots. So T is for tops. This T is for tops. You can see on the bottom, potato tops, and R is for roots. Okay, R is for roots. So you can see, for example, the concentration of calcium. How the variation in concentration of a nutrient happens in root and shoot due to influence of temperature or due to effect of temperature. Now you see at lower temperature, say 5 degrees centigrade temperature, the concentration of calcium is more in top part. More in top means more in shoot and less concentration in root at 5 degrees centigrade temperature. But if you increase the temperature, the trend is same, but the concentration at 29 degrees centigrade is much higher in shoot than at 5 degrees centigrade. Similarly, concentration of calcium is higher at 29 degrees centigrade in root than at 5 degrees centigrade. Okay, let me explain you some more examples. The last one, take the case of iron. Concentration is in ppm and the temperature is in degree centigrade. So first you see 5 degrees centigrade temperature. This is lower range of temperature. In lower range of temperature, you can see the tops contain less iron than the root. So under stress condition, under low temperature conditions, root will have higher iron concentration than the top. At 29 degrees centigrade also, your roots will have higher iron than the top. But compare at two temperature, compare the top at 5 degrees centigrade, it is low. It is low in top, but if you increase the temperature, the concentration is higher in the top at 29 degrees centigrade. But at 29 degrees centigrade, if you see the root part, it is more at 5 degrees centigrade in root. Iron is more at 5 degrees centigrade in root than in shoot. Then at 29 degrees centigrade. Means root to root compare kar lo aap, you compare RR and then TT. So you can find some differences. So this is just to show you that under stress condition, plants have such kind of mechanism that they can have variable concentration of nutrients in shoot as well as in root. And also you can learn from this data that there is no uniform concentration of nutrients in different plant parts. This is yet another message. For example, leaf nitrogen content, leaf magnesium content may be different what you have in say stem, what you have in root, even within leaf. The petiole may have different concentration than the lamina or your leaf blade. So this is how these concentration are influenced by temperature. Now it is also interesting, sometimes temperature also controls the soil pH. So now question is that soil pH increases in winter and it decreases in summer. Soil pH increases in winter, particularly in northern India, where you have subtropical kind of climate. So under these conditions, soil pH increases in winter. Why soil pH increases in winter? Because of slow decomposition of organic matter. If decomposition of organic matter is slow, the release of acid, number of acids are released, number of hydrogen ions are released upon the decomposition of organic matter. So there will be less production of acidic substances because of low decomposition in winter. But in summer months, the decomposition rate of organic matter or residues or manure is quite fast. If the decomposition rate is fast, that means organic acids will be produced and hydrogen will be released. So it will decrease the pH of the soil during summer month. So some variability may exist in soil pH from one season to another season. So you can see it is result of the increased microbial activity in summer. In summer, you will have the increased microbial activity. So increased decomposition of organic matter. It releases more carbon dioxide, which makes carbonic acid, hence decrease in soil pH in the summer. So indirectly, you are getting hydrogen ions released in the soil due to production of carbon dioxide. Decreased pH in summer increases micronutrient availability, particularly in alkaline soils. If your soils are having pH more than 7, then availability of iron, manganese, and copper declines. But if you reduce the pH by way of decomposition of organic matter, the pH can be slightly reduced. Then the availability of iron, manganese, and copper will increase. Is it okay, Jyoti?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Now, what happens? There can be two extremes of temperature. One can be too high, very high temperature, or very low temperature. So what happens when some plant face a low temperature? So reduced growth and cell wall permeability. Cell wall permeability also reduces, mainly because changes in the volume of water. Volume of water may increase. Reduced nutrient and water uptake due to low temperature because cell wall permeability is reduced. Reduced transpiration, reduced photosynthesis, and freezing and chilling injury. Freezing and chilling injury can happen to the plant. Freezing injury happens in tropical and subtropical plants, and freezing injury happens in temperate plants, and chilling injury happens in tropical and subtropical plants. So you need to understand the difference in chilling injury and freezing injury. Now, chilling injury means damage to the plant parts caused by temperature above freezing point. Temperature is above the freezing point, and it happens in tropical or subtropical plants which are susceptible for chilling injury. Leaves may become purple or reddish. So in this case, this is the symptom of chilling injury. It happens to tropical or subtropical plant. These kind of plants like to grow better under normal or high temperature conditions, but suddenly you have reduced the temperature. So that is why it is called as chilling injury. I just can recall that you normally call chilled water. You do not call freeze water. You call, bring me a glass of chilled water. That means before this water was warm. At one point of time, or maybe hot also. At one point of time, this water was warm or having more temperature. That is why you are saying bring the temperature of this water down, make it chill, make it cool, not freeze. So therefore, this chilling injury happens in subtropical and tropical plants. Frost and freezing injury. Frost appears on plants as ice crystals. So frost, you might be knowing, it appears as ice crystals on the surfaces. Above freezing, it happens above freezing. Plants damaged by ice crystals that form outside or inside their tissues. So these ice crystal can form outside the tissues, outside the plant, or inside the cells also. Then this is called as freezing injury. Because the increased volume of water can rupture the cell wall, because cells also contain water. Cells have protoplasm, protoplasm has water, and there is freezing of water, so increase in volume of water. So there may be breaking of cells or cell wall. So ice crystals dehydrate cells and disrupt the membranes. Now, according to cold tolerance, plants can be divided into three categories. One is plants which are chill susceptible to chill. They are damaged by temperature less than 12 degrees centigrade. Chill tolerant but freezing susceptible. They are able to acclimate to temperature more or less than 12 degrees centigrade, but unable to survive at freezing. Third one is freezing tolerant or frost tolerant, able to acclimatize to survive temperatures significantly below freezing. So there are three different categories of the plant according to cold tolerance. Examples are tropical plants like banana and papaya. They are chill susceptible category. That is why banana and papaya, though it is a tropical plant, but it is also grown in subtropical areas. Several subtropical plants like capsicum, frutescens, potato, tomato, they are chill tolerant but freezing susceptible. Then certain herbaceous or woody plants characterized as freezing tolerant originated mostly from the temperate climates. Now, another concept related to temperature is growing degree days, because growing degree days will determine the duration of the crop. What will the length of growing period? It tells us the length of growing period. So every plant must accumulate certain number of heat units to mature, to flower, to mature. So that is called as growing degree days concept or heat unit concept. So we need to actually understand what is heat unit. So heat unit is just you can take maximum temperature plus minimum temperature divided by 2 minus base temperature. Suppose today is 40 degrees centigrade is maximum and 20 degrees centigrade is minimum. So 40 and 20 makes 60. 60 divided by 2. So then it will be 30. And 30 minus base temperature. So 10 degrees centigrade is considered as base temperature, means nothing will happen to the plant if temperature is below 10 degrees centigrade. So 30 minus 10. So 20 degree centigrade or 20 degree is a unit, heat unit is achieved in 1 day. In 1 day, 20 degree heat unit is achieved by the plant. Suppose one plant require say 2000 or 3000 growing degree days. Growing degree days means 3000 heat unit. 3000 heat units are required, and in each day plant is getting 20 units. So 3000 I can divide by 20. How much it will be? 150. So plant will mature in 150 days. If plant is getting each day 20 heat units or 20 degree heat units, then and the total requirement is 3000. So it will mature in 150 days. But it is not that plant will get every day same heat unit. We need to work it out. Someday it will get 20, someday it will get 25, someday it will get 15, and when the total becomes 3000, so this will tell us the duration. It has to complete 3000, whether it completes in 150 days, or whether it completes in 100 days, or whether it completes in 170 days. That concept is called as heat unit or growing degree days. Some examples I can tell you. In northern India, in Punjab, Haryana, UP, or central India, Madhya Pradesh, you can take Bihar also. Wheat sowing. Wheat sowing is done almost simultaneously in Madhya Pradesh and in this northern India. You can take Punjab, Haryana, Delhi. Wheat sowing is done in November. And it is also done in almost same time in Madhya Pradesh also. But wheat matures quicker, faster in Madhya Pradesh than in Punjab. In Punjab, during wheat growing season, the temperatures are colder comparatively compared to Madhya Pradesh. In Madhya Pradesh, temperatures are warmer compared to Punjab. So therefore, in Madhya Pradesh, plant will get this heat unit faster. In less time, it can accumulate the required unit. But in Punjab, where temperatures are lower during winter months, it will take longer time to mature. So you can see that in Madhya Pradesh, wheat is harvested in March. You can say after middle March, wheat harvesting starts in Madhya Pradesh. But in Punjab, it is harvested at the end of April or in the third week of April. So that is how you can understand the value of heat unit. Whatever may be the sowing time, even within Punjab or within Delhi, if you have done sowing in the month of November and also in December, the wheat will mature almost at the same time. Because during the later part of their growth in the month of March and April, the temperatures are too high. So within shorter period of time, both wheat will get the needful growing degree days or will get the needful heat unit. So therefore, I just tried to make you understand by this example, what is value of growing degree days or what is heat unit. So now you can see some examples here. Whether you grow maize in India or Pakistan or Sri Lanka, it will require at least 2,700 growing degree days to crop maturity. If you are growing in temperate climate or subtropical climate, it will be accumulated in longer time. But if you grow in tropical climate, if you grow in Karnataka, then it will mature quickly because the heat unit per day achieved will be more in Karnataka than in a temperate area, than in, say, Kashmir. So you need not to remember the value of the growing degree days, but you should know the concept of growing degree days. So growing degree day or GDD is a heat index that can be used to predict when a crop will reach maturity. When it will mature, it can be used to predict. Each day's growing degree day is calculated by subtracting a reference temperature or base temperature, which varies with the plant species from daily mean temperature. We ignore values less than 0. The reference temperature for a given plant is the temperature below which its development slows or stops or ceases. Now you can see how you can calculate the growing degree day for each day. Taking the average of the daily maximum and minimum temperature, you can take average compared to the base temperature, T base, usually 10 degrees centigrade. So this is how you can calculate growing degree day. I told you, say, maximum temperature was 40 plus, say, 20 was minimum, and then divide by 2. So 60 divided by 230 minus base temperature, it is 10. So in one day, this temperature value will give us 20 degree heat unit. Is it correct, Kajal?
Yes, sir.
You understood it, Palash?
Yes, sir.
Clear? Okay. So in this case, now you can do make calculations. Next is like temperature. Next is vernalization. Vernalization means promoting flowering in the crops or in the plants with cold, promoting flowering with the cold. So it is required. Vernalization is the cold treatment, low temperature treatment of seeds to get flowering in angiospermic plant or flowering plants. So actually plant exhibits several adaptations for avoiding the ambiguity of day length signal. One is the coupling of a temperature requirement to a photoperiodic response. So temperature can be coupled with the photoperiodic response. Certain plant species like winter wheat do not respond to photoperiod until after a cold period has occurred. Means they will not, just temperature is not important. The other important point is that they must be vernalized. The seed must be vernalized, treated in the cold to induce flowering in them. It is also important. Besides photoperiod, you need cold treatment of seed or sometimes part of the plant to generate or to get flowering in the plant. This is in addition to the photoperiodic length. I give you one example. One example of wheat, which is called as winter wheat. Do you know difference in winter wheat and spring wheat?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is that?
Sir, winter wheat is sown in temperate country while spring wheat is grown in India. But spring wheat is grown in India just like a winter wheat period. In winters, we sow spring wheat in India.
Correct, absolutely correct. So winter wheat is actually grown in temperate countries or areas where you have temperate climate, particularly in Europe, in America, and also in China. In China also, they have got some temperate areas in the northern China. They grow winter wheat. Take the case of England, where winter wheat is sown sometimes around October. Sometime around October. And October, after October, this ice snowfall starts. After October, the cold starts in Europe. Or I'm giving you example of England. So they do sowing in the month of October. And then they will put the seed into the soil in the rows, and then the snowfall will start before the seed starts germinating. Seed is not germinated. It is just lying in the soil, and then the snowfall will start. And this snowfall will continue through November, December, January, up to February. So during this period, it is called as wintering or overwintering. This is called as overwintering, means seed is inside the soil and you are wintering it. You are giving cold to it. You are giving cold to it, but it is not doing anything, this seed. But it is getting wintering. This is necessary for flowering. This is necessary for flowering. And then in the month of, say, March, the snow will start melting. Snow will start melting and the seed will start imbibing water. Temperature will also start rising. So at certain point of time, optimum temperature will come and then seed germination will start. So 2-3 activities happen together. On one hand, the melting of ice is happening, and they do not have flat land like us. They have somewhat slopy lands. So this water is easily removed from the slopes, and then grain will get some water imbibed, and then germination starts. Temperature starts rising, and wheat starts growing. And then this wheat, when it starts, it germinates in March, will continue to grow up to August. In the month of August, the wheat will be harvested. So this wheat takes 10 months time, and this is winter wheat. In India, we grow wheat during winter months, but it is called as spring wheat. That is correct. So you can see in case of wheat, vernalization has automatically happened. Sometimes in trees, in fruit trees, you can do vernalization of certain branches or certain parts, it is possible to go for vernalization. So now winter cereals like winter wheat sown in fall, that is fall season means jab patta girta, when leaf fall happen. It has nothing to do with snowfall. It has nothing to do with snowfall. In America, in Europe, fall season means this when the leaf starts falling. Patjhad. When the leaves start, this comes in autumn season. I'm sorry. This fall season means autumn season, October months. And flower in following summer, respond to low temperature very early in their life cycle. They can be vernalized before germination if the seeds have imbibed water and become metabolically active. So fall season, you go for autumn. This is autumn season, and this is actually leaf fall, season between summer and winter, during which temperature gradually decrease. Now, effective temperature range for vernalization is from just below freezing to about 10 degrees centigrade. So this is the range for vernalization temperature, lower temperature. Response requires several weeks of exposure to low temperature, several weeks or maybe months, but precise duration of vernalization varies widely with the species and variety. So vernalization requirement will vary with the crop and with the variety. Now you can see high temperature can also be there. So like low temperature, sometimes it was needed. Low temperature is also harmful. You have seen it can make pollens sterile. Similarly, high temperature can also be harmful to the plants. So you can see it can give us oxidative stress. You need to understand what is oxidative stress. When reactive oxygen species, ROS, reactive oxygen species, ROS, are overproduced. So under high temperature conditions, this ROS, reactive oxygen species, is overproduced and it gets accumulated and it damages the plant cells. This ROS can damage the plant death. And it is not just because of high temperature. It can be produced by certain other abiotic stresses also. Certain other abiotic stresses can also produce ROS, which is dangerous, which is harmful to the cell. It can break the integrity of the cells. So overall, you can see high temperature. High temperature can affect the growth yield adversely. It can damage the DNA. It can damage the DNA of the cells. It can reduce photosynthesis. It can overall reduce the plant growth. Water loss, it can increase the high transpiration. Transcriptional change means protein synthesis can be affected. Hormonal changes, reduced antioxidant activity. Oxidative stress, which I explained you just now. Oxidative stress. Stress because of reactive oxygen. Decreased enzyme activity, and finally you can see high yield reduction. Yield reduction is also there. So high temperatures may not be very useful. Thus, you need some optimum temperature. So high temperature damage depends on plant type, degree and duration, how long you are giving high temperature, and plant's age. At a younger age, they may be more susceptible to high temperature than at adult age or than at other stages. High temperature during reproductive stage can be very detrimental. Temperate crops like wheat, more injuries than tropical crops because of high temperature. Reduced yields because of high temperature. Why reduced yields are there? Because reduced nutrient uptake can happen at high temperature. Pollen development can be adversely affected. Pollination and fertilization is affected. Shoot growth and increased seed or fruit damage. So because of all these reasons, there is reduction in the yield of the crops. Quality is reduced, yield is also reduced. Physiological injuries can also happen because of high temperature. Scorching of leaves and stems. Leaf abscission means early fall of the leaf and senescence. And root growth inhibition is also possible because of high temperature. Oxidative stress can harm the plant cells and impair their growth. Reduce sugar and starch in growing seeds and fruits. You can see number of problems are there because of high temperature. So can we manipulate it? Can we reduce the damage that is being done by high temperature? Can we moderate it? Can we alter it? Yes, we can alter it by time of sowing. We can go for early time of sowing or late time of sowing to avoid adverse temperature conditions. Amount of clay. It is possible to, if it is possible, we can increase the amount of clay in the soil because the clay warms up slowly and also it loses heat slowly. Because if you increase the clay content in soil, by default, it will decrease the sand content. If you have more sand content, then damage of high temperature will be more because it quickly gets heated and it quickly gets, lose the heat. So therefore, the damage will be more because of severe heat and severe cold conditions under more sand. So clay, by adding clay, we can moderate temperature. Drainage means too much of water, particularly high temperature, and water is also there in the soil. In case of rice, scalding can happen. This water will also heat up, and that can also injure the crop. So in this case, drainage can help. Mulching can help in case of high temperature. In mesophytic crops like wheat, maize, and some other crop, you can go for mulching. It moderates the temperature. It is also good for low temperature. It works under both temperature. You can avoid low temperature damage as well as high temperature damage by mulching because it moderates the soil temperature. Intercropping can be followed so that some shading can be done and we can avoid damage by the high temperature. So agroforestry system can be adopted for crops which are shade loving. For example, this turmeric, haldi, it is generally grown under agroforestry systems because it does not tolerate very high temperatures in open. Now, moisture is another factor. I was referring to WANTs, water, air, temperature. Moisture is also abiotic factor. Environmental, abiotic factors. So water required for life. Water is part of protoplasm. Plants cannot live without water. And if you know, the first life on Earth came in water. The first life was cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria or blue-green algae was the first life on the Earth planet. So it came in water. So water is very, very important. Even certain species cannot complete their life cycle without water. Take the case of certain algae. They live in water. They complete their life cycle in water. Source of hydrogen and oxygen, in photosynthesis, you need water. And water is also essential nutrient, you see. I'm sorry, hydrogen and oxygen are essential nutrients which are supplied by water. So manufacture of carbohydrate, you need water because splitting of water molecule give you hydrogen that combined with NADP, and role of water. Maintenance of protoplasm hydration. If protoplasm dries, death of cell will occur. Movement of nutrients in soil, you need water. So it has direct role as well as indirect role in supplying the nutrients and also in the movement of nutrients in soil as well as in plants. Translocation of manufactured food from leaves to the roots. Water is needed. Moderation of temperature. Within plant, the water also act as moderator of the temperature. So you can see there are a number of roles of water. You can remember what are major roles of water, what are major roles of temperature, what are major roles of light. So you should remember role of all these factors and their limits and also their alterations or their modification for better crop production so that we get better growth, better yield of the crops. Now you come to both low and high levels of water. may affect the growth adversely. Moisture stress reduces cell division and enlargement. So we'll see what excess water can do. So rice is exception. Definitely rice is exception. Rice love to have water. Even tip of the ice leaves are exposed to atmosphere, exposed to air. It will survive. It will not have much problem. But kind of aerobic crops or kind of mesophytic crops. Rice, rice is semi-aquatic plant. It is considered as semi-aquatic plant. So if you have excess moisture for mesophytic plants, reduces soil aeration, because when water enters the soil, the oxygen will go away. It will come out, air will come out. You see, when we put water in the soil, you will see bubbles in the field, bubbles come out. That is actually air will come out from the soil. That means oxygen is coming out. So roots will not be able to get the oxygen supply. So supply of oxygen to roots is adversely affected by increased moisture in soil. And also with poor aeration, activity of beneficial microbes reduce. Now you will get more of anaerobic microbes, and aerobic microbes will decrease in number. They will decrease in their activity. Water and nutrient uptake will also be reduced because of lack of oxygen. Lack of oxygen, the water and nutrient uptake will be reduced under excessive water conditions or excessive moisture condition. If there is deficit of water, shortage of water, then stomata closing can happen, reduce transpiration, reduce photosynthesis, reduce cell division and elongation, and finally reduce growth and crop yield. So you can see I will continue this moisture or water tomorrow because now 1 minute is left. Today, unfortunately, we lost at least 5-10 minutes time in because of electricity problem. But tomorrow we will continue. So now your questions, point of suggestion, or any point you want to ask, only 1 minute is left, I think.
Sir, can you please explain the concept of vernalization?
Vernalization means cold treatment of seed or any plant propagule to induce flowering. And actually this helps in the production of one particular hormone, which is called as florigen. Florigen, Florigen. And that hormone is produced because of vernalization, and then you will have flowering. So it is just cold treatment to induce flowering in certain plants. So for details, you can consult DeepSeek. DeepSeek पता है ना? ठीक है. Whatever I know little about vernalization. So I told you, and rest you can go to DeepSeek. आपको पता है नहीं, ChatGPT तरह एक DeepSeek आ गया है.
हाँ सर,
उस पे थोड़ा
चाइना की.
उस पे जल्दी आंसर मिल जाता है. It is good. I tried. You can also try छोटे-छोटे क्वेश्चन उस पे डालो, तुरंत आंसर लो. That is also a way to learn.